Brown, licensed clinical professional counselor. It's been a while since we have had an episode of Therapy Thursday. Well, not via video anyway. I have had a few on my audio podcast, Your Exhilarating Life. It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and several other platforms. So if you ever want to check that out, certainly do so. I have been so busy for the past couple of years that I just haven't had a whole lot of time to do Therapy Thursday videos. But if you would like to, you can always go to my YouTube channel. I have several years of Therapy Thursday and other videos on my YouTube channel previously recorded. I want to say going back to maybe 2015 or so. So there's plenty of material there for you to view at your discretion if you would like to. Otherwise, hey, just join me whenever I have an episode these days. So there's been a lot that's transpired. You guys might remember that probably last winter I ended Therapy Thursday, which was something I used to do pretty much every week. And I did that to make sure that I was giving information to people who may not necessarily make it to my office. Well, here I am again, offering some Therapy Thursday and other videos to some degree. And the reason I'm doing it now is because a lot of people have been trying to get in to see me over these past several months. And I would say probably only 50% of the people are getting on my schedule. So I've been pretty booked. I do have a few other therapists. So if you are struggling to try to get on my schedule, please contact me directly. You can always go through my website and leave a message. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're wanting to do some coaching or some type of consultation in some area of life, you can go to carmelbrowncounseling.com. If you're looking specifically for therapy services, you can go to yourexhilaratinglife.com and you will see my other therapists. They are also on that website, so you can always leave a message, and you can also specify which therapist you'd like to see. So today I want to talk about dysfunctional thinking. And the reason I want to talk about dysfunctional thinking is because most of the way we feel is directly related to what we're thinking. And a lot of people are habitual with dysfunctional, negative, or unhealthy thought patterns. And so I'd like to talk to you about something called cognitive distortions. If you've never heard of cognitive distortions, you're going to hear a little bit about them today. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information in some long, lengthy video today. We have plenty of time and plenty of Thursdays to cover dysfunctional thinking. And so today I just want to give you just a brief overview. And one of the reasons that this is necessary is because for most people, dysfunctional or healthy or unhealthy thinking ruins relationships, it ruins a person's mental health, and it increases anxiety and such. So there's so many reasons why it's important to be able to identify any negative or unhealthy thought patterns that you might be having. So as I stated, a person's thoughts and beliefs has a great deal to do with how they feel. Whether the thoughts or beliefs are false or real, whether or not there's a true threat for harm or a perceived threat for harm, this type of thinking can certainly be harmful in so many ways. Now, I have to be honest with you. Everyone experiences cognitive distortions at some point or to some extent. They're normal. However, they become very harmful and possibly disastrous and anxiety-provoking, and not only anxiety-provoking, but can perpetuate depression as well when they become too intense and too frequent. So let's talk just a little bit about some of the most common cognitive distortions. First, I'd like to briefly discuss all or nothing thinking. This is what most people call black or white thinking. There is no in between. There are no gray areas with all or nothing thinking. So for people that experience all or nothing thinking, they may focus on one little small negative detail and refer to themselves in a very negative manner as a result. For example, a person might be very successful. They may be educated, they may have a great career or business, they may have a great family, and there may be one thing, like maybe they are overweight. They're struggling with physical health issues. That person may decide that they are a loser simply because there's one aspect of their life that's not in order. Or maybe that person has the great career, they're very successful, but they want to be married and have a family, and they're looking at someone else who has that, and they are looking at themselves as not being successful, or as being a loser, or being behind with regards to their life accomplishments and goals. They're focusing on that one aspect, typically comparing themselves to other people and making very negative conclusions about themselves. This is very harmful, and it's very extreme in most cases. Everything is either good or bad with all or nothing thinking. Now, disqualifying the positive is the next one I'd like to talk about. And I want to talk about this one next because it's very similar to all or nothing thinking. Whereas all or nothing thinking is black or white thinking, and there's no in between, no gray area, and that type of thing. Disqualifying the positive, like I said, is very similar. With disqualifying the positive, a person also focuses on the negative. It may be one small detail that maybe didn't go so well, but they will focus on that and totally disregard all of the positives that were also major or significant components of whatever the scenario might be. For example, a person that's disqualifying the positive might have a performance evaluation at work, and that evaluation might mark or read exceeds expectations, exceeds expectations, exceeds expectations, meets expectations, meets expectations. And then there might be one area in which their supervisor or manager marks needs improvement. Now, this could be a very good employee, and their supervisor may have given them very good verbal feedback, but that employee might be looking at themselves as not being a very good employee simply because they have a needs improvement in one specific area. And someone that engages in positive or healthy thinking in that situation probably would look at that and think something along the lines of, well, some supervisors don't give anyone exceeds expectations, because that would indicate that there is no room for growth. And there's always room for growth in every area of our lives, especially on our jobs, because things are always changing. And some people that may be engaged in healthy thinking might think along the lines of, well, I guess there has to be some area in which there needs to be improvement. Otherwise, why aren't I running this company if I'm that perfect of an employee? So some people might see that as normal, that there should be something that they should be working on improving in some area. And looking at the fact that, wow, I got some exceeds expectations, that's great. So that means I can focus on that one area more than I have to on the other areas and maintain what I'm doing in those other areas. So it's important for you to think about whether or not you are engaging in this negative type of behavior. I can give you a personal example. I do a lot of workshops and presentations for various corporations, and I recall doing one for the federal government sometime in 2021, and they were supposed to rate me on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the lowest, and everyone on the survey rated me a 5, had really good, healthy, positive remarks. And then one person gave me a 1, and they said this information was not useful for me. Well, as far as healthy thinking goes, my thoughts were, well, your employer thought that this was good information. They asked me to present on this topic. And this was a mandatory training for your agency. There was another time when I got all fives. I think I had 1, 3, and 1, 1. And this was out of like 50 different employees. Well, that's how many turned in their survey. And out of 50, 48 or so, 47, 48 gave me a 5. But one person said that I was a dry presenter. And that was the 3. And then the number 1 said that I needed to be, that I forgot somebody's name. So they said it should be a requirement to learn everybody's names before you present to someone. Well, of course, that isn't realistic. So I didn't let that ruffle my feathers. I was very happy that I got raving reviews from most of the employees, and I thought it was a success. So I could go on and on about different examples where this type of thinking is concerned, but I think you get the point. Now, I do want to just say a couple of things with this disqualifying the positive, because there are 2 areas in which I see a lot of people use this type of faulty thinking very often. One being in dating situations, and the other being in like job interviews. Some people go, they have a great interview and they get good feedback from the interviewer. The interviewer might even say, well, thank you, you did well. I enjoyed interviewing you. I look forward to talking to you again in the future. You should be hearing something back really soon. And instead of listening to that positive feedback and all of the other great things that were said and information that was exchanged, that person may focus on one thing that they said wrong, or maybe they misquoted some fact or some statistic, and then they may go home and kind of beat themselves up about that. Instead of looking at the positives, all of the positives, they will focus on that one negative thing. Sometimes it occurs with dating. A person may get home and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. I probably sounded so stupid, and so on and so forth, and kind of beating themselves up and criticizing themselves, when altogether the date went really well. And also realizing that there is no such thing as a perfect date when everything that's done or said is perfect. So just know that if you have this type of thinking, it's important that you first of all acknowledge it. And we'll talk about some other things that you can do once you recognize this type of thinking. The next cognitive distortion I'd like to briefly talk about is catastrophizing. Some people refer to this one as awfulizing. And with this particular cognitive distortion, people tend to think the worst possible scenario. For example, the person that I'm calling isn't answering their phone, so they must be ignoring my call. They probably looked at it and saw that it was me, and they're not answering the phone. Or my significant other is going on a work trip. I would be willing to bet that that's not where they're going. They're going to meet some other guy or some other woman. So thinking the worst case scenario in most situations, they're not answering the phone, so they must be with someone else type of thing, when maybe you're dating someone or you're married to someone. So rather than thinking in a healthy manner, like, oh, they must be busy, I guess they'll call me back, I'll just send them a text and let them know to call me whenever they get some free time. Okay? The next one, mind reading. This is making assumptions about another person's behavior, another person's intentions, or another person's thoughts or feelings. It's never a good turnout with this type of behavior. It's kind of similar to catastrophizing in some ways, but mind reading is kind of thinking that you know what someone's intentions are. Oh yeah, I bet they parked there on purpose because they just wanted to make me mad this morning before I started my workday. They just wanted me to have a bad day. And that person may not have given you or anyone else at work a thought before they pulled onto the parking lot, but you are assuming because they noticed that you park there quite frequently that they should be aware that that is your parking spot, and they intentionally did that to upset you. With cognitive distortions and the emotional reasoning and such that people go through with dysfunctional and unhealthy and negative thinking, there is never any reason, any proof or evidence to support the thoughts that a person might be having. And it most certainly will have a negative impact on the way a person feels. And most often, the person feels whatever they're feeling, typically fear, so intensely that it feels real, whether it is or not. Now remember, this thinking is not factual based. It's not based on facts. It's based on dysfunctional thought patterns. And we will talk more about this in the near future, but I just want to give you a few little nuggets on this. So did you identify with any of these cognitive distortions? If so, what impact has it had on your life and on your relationships? Most importantly, what impact has it had on your mental health? If you can identify this type of thinking and you learn to challenge this type of thinking, you can improve your mental health, possibly improve your relationships, or prevent deterioration of your relationships and mental health, and improve your overall quality of life. So, hey guys, that's all I have today. I will be back with you very soon with another Therapy Thursday video. And we're going to talk about this dysfunctional thinking thing a little more frequently than we did in the past, because I think a lot of people are struggling in this area currently. So, hey, that's all I have. Talk to you later.